Hi everybody, my name is Sarah, Cape Cod. Whoa! Pearls of Wisdom and Food. It's 2:42. Give me a break. Come on. So here I am. And today is the topic, the final topic of the addiction. And we're talking about the addiction to food or to certain foods that you don't even realize it's an addiction until, you have it every day and you don't enjoy one bite of it, right? But you have to have it every day. I mean, you have to think of the heroin addict. Let's bring us right to that, or the opiate addict. There's parts in your brain that are going to light up like fireworks when you look at something, when you taste something, when you gotta have something. I don't think we're counting coffee as an addiction. Don't even go there this morning. So, when I saw my food addiction displayed to me, I was in my very early 20s. I didn't know what I didn't know. And so I had gone out. I can't imagine how I looked. But I was younger. And so probably, when you're younger, maybe you don't have the stuff that we get from the overeating stuff, the bloat, the beached whale feeling, I had no full button. And I certainly accommodated that no full button. I ate and I ate and I ate. And it didn't take long for me to zoom through the trigger to the craving, to the obsession, to the, what else did I have? Oh, the bad habit, which was it, to the addiction. And in my final story of recognizing that I was a food addict, I'd gone out to dinner at this fancy schmancy place and got very, very drunk, overate, bread, probably prime rib, baked potato, maybe a salad, maybe a veggie, of course a huge dessert, after dinner coffees with whipped cream and liquor in them. And then they said, the owners, because I guess we must have gone there a lot, they said, this is in my early 20s, so we're talking 1974, 75. And the owners invited us to an after-hours party at this beach. And this is in the fancy schmancy town where today you couldn't get away with it, with the police and the locking the beach and all this kind of stuff, probably because of people like us. And of course the servers and the cooks and the owners didn't eat all night because they were busy doing what they do and running a fancy schmancy restaurant. So they had this great big cookout, and I ate more and more and more and drank beer. I can't imagine. I had no full button. I mean, we're talking power foods here. It wasn't like I was the hot dog eating king, but it was seriously bad. So shortly after that, I entered Overeaters Anonymous. So I was like 24, 25, and I knew I had a serious problem. That was 40 years ago. 40 years ago. Oh my. And so I began to go to those meetings and recognize that this addiction had me. It just had me. I didn't have, and normies would say, just don't eat, just stop, just, and I worked in a pizza grinder place, a sub hero place, and huge portions. People would eat their own pizza. The subs were ginormous back then. They were wide, they were long. Oh my goodness. And just people would eat, and I would eat right with them. And, I still had my eccentricities about having to, well, that's when I learned to sit down and eat. But my brain was lit up from the addiction of it. And as I said in other videos, my first addiction was obviously raw brownie dough and raw cookie dough. And that became the first, I realized I had a problem. I mean, if I was buying it, or my mother was buying it, I was mixing it, I was eating it, never turned the oven on. We moved on to cake batter. It was definitely a sugar thing. I wasn't into the crunch. When I got older, I don't know why, but, into my drinking days, it was definitely Lipton onion soup mix dip with a bag of Cape Cod chips. And that was it. And, you know, maybe when you were pregnant you had cannot be denied sort of food things that you had to have. And it's kind of like that. It's like when you don't have a choice. You know, the addiction rules you. And the other things that leading up to it are okay. But once you step over that line, for me it was food items, not everything. You know, I'm not addicted to broccoli. I love broccoli. But what would happen is once I knew I had a binge food, you know, I would go ahead and eat it. I never crossed the line with purging. I never became bulimic. But, you know, some people do to maintain. Even Nancy Reagan, if you're from my era. So once it's an addiction, it really is out of your control. And I think that being in a disciplined, structured sort of food program really, really helps. You know that a lot of people feel that they still need to go to meetings because if they didn't, they'd lose, first of all, the community that they've built and that structure, that accountability. And for me, with any addiction that I've dealt with, that is it. I have to be accountable. With me doing these videos, mostly daily, it is the same deal. I have to be accountable to you. And so myself first and then to you. And also where I work, if I'm teaching nutrition classes, I can't be getting bigger and bigger and saying, yeah, this works. And so I have to be very, very mindful of everything that I choose to put in my mouth. And sometimes there's no choice. But because of my years of dealing with it as a food addiction and not just a silly little problem of eating too much, I really know the emotional connection to it. And I have to be spiritual about it. That's how it works for me. So with the addiction, it really is that place where the switch can get flipped with certain items. Can't, you know, for me, it's not having them in the house. It's slowly giving them up. And when I was talking about the bad habit and slowly letting something go, you know, the bad habit could easily have some miracle grow put on it, and it does become the addiction. And if you know what I'm talking about, you know, maybe you have some examples yourself. But I think that, to me, look at the 12-step programs, you know, with the groups. How do people stay sober? How do they stay sober on a daily basis? They go to a meeting. You know, they trust in a power greater than themselves. They do an inventory, an emotional inventory about where this brought them, this addiction. Yeah, I did it in Overeaters Anonymous, you know, and the stories that you would hear. You know, you would leave the meeting and I would, you know, I went up until about 2 years ago and I would bring some clients and they weren't ready yet. They were just dealing with the drug addiction at that point. But I just wanted to plant a little seed. Now I can with the nutrition group. And so it's recognizing that it's my problem and it's a serious one and I have to deal with it. And it's not silly and it's not little and it's not, you know the people that try to tell you things and the sabotagers and here, have it. Come on, Auntie Ruthie made this just for you. You know, all those pushers. And they are pushers. They are. It's a drug. And if food is your drug like it is mine, you know what I'm talking about. So, anyway, once you get to the addiction thing, you need to know that you don't have to do it alone, which we're doing here. And structured environments are good. That's why we protect ourselves with our tracking, our writing down, our buying the healthy food, going through the pantry and tossing out those things that in a moment of upsetness you could grab for. You have to bulletproof yourself. I don't have a house filled with booze just in case somebody shows up. Am I kidding myself? I can't. I learned that one, 30 years ago. With the food, I learned it 40 years ago, but new types of food became my new addiction. And at the end, when I entered Weight Watchers 20 months ago, it was because of my cake addiction. And I would buy cakes, full-sized cakes, and think that I would have just one piece and throw it away. Who's kidding who? You know, I'm a dumpster diver. I am. When my addiction is in full swing. But I've worked in restaurants, so I didn't really need to dumpster dive. I've been trash can diver in the kitchen when somebody didn't want their dinner. You know, I would dive. It was disgusting. That's where the addiction can take you. You're no different than the heroin addict if you recognize that you have a food addiction. Your brain is lit up. It might not be all your fault with the food manufacturers and the addicting things they put in the foods today. That's why we talk about real food here all the time. Single items, broccoli, salmon, butter, coconut oil, lettuce, things like that. Berries. You know, you can't, those things haven't been tampered with when I eat them. I'm not buying, you know, today I've got a load of Michael Angelina, all those wonderful things, the egg parm, the chicken piccata, the veggie lasagna that I'm taking to the shelter. You know, they were in the freezer. I'm not going to eat them. They've got wheat in them. They've got all kinds. I mean, they're probably the best of the frozen foods to have. I got them at BJ's. But not to be confused with Marie Callender, that's a label to read. But just digressing, Sarah that digresses. But, you know, when it's the addiction, you don't have a choice. And so you come here, you go to meetings, you go to structured environments where you can get the help. Stay safe. It's about staying safe. Because left alone, you might not be safe, right? So, anyway, this is the end of the little series. Hopefully it's a good thing to have right before the final couple of pushes with Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, New Year's Day, fa-la-la, brunches here and dinners there and snacks everywhere, standing up, don't stand up, stay hydrated, keep tracking, don't forget your meetings, and I will see you the next time. This has been Sarah, Weight Watcher. Oh my goodness. Pearls of wisdom and food. See, I get on this tear. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye for now.